Welcome to Get Known, Be Seen WebTV. I'm Trish Springsteen, your host, and it's my absolute delight to be bringing to the show today, Kuti Mack. Hi, Kuti.
Hey, Trish, how are you?
Absolutely awesome. Now, Get Known, Be Seen WebTV, people, for those who don't know it, is all about helping people to get on the show, to have a message, a service, a product, or book, and just want to shout out, here I am. We also have on the show experts who help you to get out there and be seen. So today we're going to be talking to Kuti. Now, Kuti has a business called BYBD, and we're going to learn a lot more about that. In a nutshell, it's remote lifestyle, fitness and nutrition coaching via a 6-week SuperView program. So I'm really looking forward to delving a bit deeper into that. Reinvention's the root of Kuti Mack's BYBD philosophy and story. After 15 years of building his music business career, and I really want to know a little bit more about that as well, he desired to build a parallel career, continuing in alignment with his calling, which is helping others. Kuti quickly rose to the top of DC's most sought after personal trainers, nutritionists. His ease on airwaves and in front of live audiences made him a demanded expert nationally and internationally. Creator of the 6-week SuperYou Program, he's been affectionately dubbed the Fitness Philosopher. I want to know a bit more about that one as well. Okay. For his unique ability to share straightforward, science-based fitness and nutrition expertise with inspirational philosophies that personally connect with people. Wow, Kuti, we have got such a short show, and I think we've got a huge amount to get through. So let's just share with me a bit about your business and your journey.
So what part of the journey do you want to know about?
Well, I guess we can't really go right back to the beginning, but I suppose I'd like to know, a musician, business career, very successful as we can see from the background. What was the little aha moment or the turning point where you want to go, okay, I need to go over to fitness and nutrition and that career?
The interesting thing is in the music business, Trish, to stay relevant in it, you can have one of two things: either just good fortune, where you just happen to just land on your feet all the time, or you flexibility, the ability to pivot, whether it's graduating your abilities or your stature, or just move from one aspect of the industry to another. Depending on what era you're talking about with me, I've had a little bit of all of that, right? And so, and not to say that anyone who sustains a career in the music business is just fortunate. I mean, there are people who actually are good at what they do, but I think it would be very disingenuous to just label the music industry as a meritocracy. You know, like if it was just about the best singers and the best executives having the best gigs, that's not the way it works. It's a very subjective industry, and depending on what the era dictates, that subjectivity changes, and then what's the best for that moment will be what supersedes. So all of that said, I had morphed through being an executive, being an artist, being a manager. And at this point, I was a manager. And when I was managing, the thing about management is you earn when your client earns. You earn off commission. And so I had a client, and everything was going well, and my role was increasing within that management team. And we were in between record deals. So we had a record deal we were trying to get out of, and we had a record deal we were trying to get into. And we were in that limbo period where we had maximized all of our opportunities with the previous record deal and the previous record and touring. And now it was time to get to the next step, but it was taking longer to cross that bridge than any of us anticipated. So in the meantime, my father had a blood pressure incident that nearly killed him. He flatlined 2 times over the course of 10 days. And I'm out gallivanting all over the country and the world. And I'm realizing that I have so much left in life to accomplish. And I selfishly didn't want to see him expire before I had accomplished it. Background on me, I'd been an athlete from age 8 to about age 19 or so, like organized, legitimate sports and such. My father was somebody who was very active himself, but he had blood pressure and cholesterol working against him. And some of his eating habits, he ate a little too much salt, stuff that most of us do, right? And so in terms of activity, we both, in our own separate existences, we both knew how to be active. He ran all the time. I'd lift weights or play sports, whatever the case may be. Nutrition wise, I would say that most people around me, especially in the music business at the time, except for my sweet tooth. I was legendary for my sweet tooth, and I'm just gonna keep it, keep it 100 and not lie. I had a legendary sweet tooth. I knew about desserts, but in terms of just eating day to day and meals, relative to the field around me, I tended to eat a little healthier than the next person. That's something I kind of carried with me most of my life. My father fancied himself as somebody who he was at least conscious of what he was eating to a point, but there's certain things, like I said, salts and things of that nature, that he just never even took measure of. So those are the two things happening for both of us. So he has this incident, it almost takes him out. And for me, it's sobering on a couple of levels. Number one, we share the same DNA. So I'm thinking, okay, if this can happen to him, it can happen to me. Number two, like I said before, selfishly, I just wanted this guy to be alive. So I'm like, if we're both exercising, then it has to be nutrition. So I just to keep him alive, I study nutrition, textbook nutrition, get certified, the whole nine. And I learned a couple things. And I'm an immigrant. You're in Australia. I'm in the States. But I was born in the UK. So I came here as a British citizen with a British accent, the whole nine, lost it when I was 7. That's a whole nother interesting story. But as an immigrant, nobody in my family came to this country just because. People came to this country for a purpose. And that purpose typically started with education. So everybody in my family, highly educated, college educated. I'm probably the least educated adult in my family with a bachelor's degree. Okay, with a first degree out of university. So all that said, I've got doctors, I've got pharmacists, I've got nurses, I've got them all at my disposal. Awesome. And I grew up in that environment. My odd jobs and summer jobs as a child were working in, whether I was hanging out with my mother growing up in the hospitals that she worked in, or if I was at my uncle's pharmacy. So I'm seeing this stuff in action. And then if I have to say one of my gifts, whether it's making music or whether it's creating fitness programs, is being able to synthesize one bit of information and another bit of information and make those things collaborate. So I can take a melody and a drum beat and make a song. I can take the objective of this medicine and the objective of this food item, this nutrition, and collaborate those and get the same objective done. And so I'm starting to see these things and they're adding up to me. So back to me being a manager, we got to a point where we weren't moving as much anymore. Mm-hmm. I wanted to make money because everybody does. Yeah. And I wanted to my father to be alive. So the confluence of all of those situations swirl into me. Oh, and then one other thing, in America, the easiest way to go broke, twofold. You either get sued or you get sick. Period, point blank. So in that situation, what happens is I don't want to go broke by getting sick. So I am like, let me get back to my healthy game. So while I'm getting myself fortifying my health via working out even more intensely and utilizing the information I'm learning about nutrition, I'm applying the nutritional information to my father to help keep him alive. And then while everybody's seeing me do this, when you hear a good song, when you see a great concert, the first thing you want to do is tell somebody else about it, right? Yeah. So when I'm getting new information about nutrition that's enlightening to me, as an adult, somebody who's known how to be fit most of his young life, and I'm learning new things about how nutrition can work to our benefit, what I do, I start telling people. So everybody already knows that I go to the gym. Now I'm proselytizing about nutrition and how you eat this food to fix this problem. So I became the go-to person within my circle when anybody wanted to get fit. They say, hey, I don't know, but talk to Kuti. My neighbors, talk to my neighbor. I mean, literally, I would have people I didn't even know that would say, hey, your neighbor told me about you, help me get fit. Now, mind you, I'm not a trainer at this time. I'm just a lay person working in the music business. But I typically worked out alone. I didn't want, so if somebody wants to go to the gym with me, fine, come on. So now I'm going to the gym with one person. Then he brings his girlfriend. Then she brings her friends. Now I'm going to the gym with like 4 or 5 people. And it's not a big deal to me because I like the company, right? I'm not thinking that I'm teaching anybody anything. I'm just like, hey, I don't know that I know this stuff. I just know this is what I do and it works for me. So you should do it too and give it a shot. I'm not charging anybody a dime. But the problem was every time we'd walk into the gym that I had a membership to, the people who worked at that gym would be like, hey, excuse me, sir, you can't train in here. We have our own trainers and this is kind of a violation for you to be training here. And I was like, I'm not training anybody. I'm just working out with my guests. And they'd be like, yeah, okay, but we're watching you. I was like, you can watch all you want to. So I continued. Finally, somebody who was a trainer that was actually a friend of mine from college, he pulled me aside and he said, hey, man, I get it. I get you're trying to make a little extra money on the side. I said, no, I'm not charged. I said in front of them, I said, none of these people are paying me. And he said, no. I said, no. He pulled me further aside and he said, if you're not a trainer, you need to be, because everybody in the gym is watching what you do, including the clients of every trainer in this gym. So I was disrupting their sessions with what I was doing unwittingly. Now, I will say that clearly, unwittingly. I didn't believe you could make a bunch of money training. So I didn't really, I come from a background where people will, sell millions of records. I didn't, that was the field that I was in. I didn't see, I saw training and that kind of stuff as seasonal work for young people who just happened to look good enough to say they were trainers, but didn't really know what they were talking about. Because I never watched a session in a gym respectfully at that point in time in my life that impressed me to the point where I was like, oh, I should train with that guy versus whatever I'm doing on my own. Matter of fact, just to kind of back up what I'm saying so it doesn't sound like hubris, what I'm saying is the fact that all of their clients were looking at me while I was exercising says a lot, says enough about the disparity between what I was doing and what they were doing. And I take that, I carry that with me to this day as a fitness instructor, consultant. When I'm giving you advice, I really work hard to give you advice that's sound enough that it's not something that's run of the mill. You can just Google or YouTube, because if that's the case, Google or YouTube it by all means, but if I'm going to give it to you and you're going to pay me for it, it's got to be something that's superlative, that gets you where you're trying to go legitimately and quickly and in a different and more unique way than it would if you were just to Google whatever your issue was, right? So that lands me, while I'm still a manager, in this personal training nutritionist seat. And in that lull of time where there was nothing going on with my artist and I jumped into this and finally committed to doing it, it just exploded. Word of mouth was just huge. I started getting TV interviews, radio interviews. I didn't have a business card. I didn't have a website. I wasn't even on social media, to be frank. And I was told I needed to just to be able to get some of the appearances I was making. So I just, okay, cool. Here's a website, here's my social media, let's go. And it just kept going. So by the time the music business circled back to me and was ready for me, I had to make a decision. So I started sort of farming out that work and delegating that work, because now I found something that was tangibly changing people's lives. The music business, I still feel my participation in the music business, I participate in records that still play and give people joy. I participate in records that if you go to the club, if you're at a party, or if you're just at home and the song comes on, people go wild and I go, man, I was there for that. I've given some of the best and the brightest in the music industry legends advice. That said, helping somebody turn off their diabetes, helping somebody reduce their cholesterol to the point where they no longer are dependent on cholesterol medication, having somebody have high blood pressure and be on 7 pills and now only be on 1, if any at all. Those things are so meaningful and so in line with my purpose, which is to help. I believe I'm on this planet to help people. I believe that when we finish having this conversation, hopefully you and your show, Get Known, Be Seen, WebTV, will be just a little bit better than its fabulous incarnation that it was before I even got here. Same thing with anybody watching this. They go, man, I love Trish. I love Trish Springsteen. I love all of her shows. I've watched every one of her podcasts. And man, I didn't think it could get any better. And then this guy came on. That's what I go for. And again, not from a pride or arrogant standpoint, but from a purposeful standpoint. That's what I'm here for.
Absolutely awesome, Kuti. That is a fantastic journey. And I have to say that I really resonate with where you're coming from, as in every time I get a guest on the show here, I believe that guest adds value to someone's life. And as long as what we discuss touches just even one person and does something like that, then the purpose of the show has been achieved. And it's also my own extreme mantra. I mean, that's why I speak, it's why I write my own books. The thought that something that I say, a word or paragraph or something, could change someone. So I can really resonate with where you're coming from. And it's a powerful place to come from, because when you're in that, you're really in there living that, it just has an effect that touches people. So I really resonate with where you're coming from. I love the way that you've said that it's been an organic growth, basically, that you have developed because you've just kept doing this and doing that. But the thing that came out of that was word of mouth. And I sort of wanted to hone in a bit on how you see that working for you, and why or not you feel that is very powerful, because word of mouth is one way of being known, be seen. And it's something that people don't often get. They don't understand it. So I'd like your viewpoint from that, given it's worked for you so well.
In the 21st century, everything is so fast. I honestly believe, and I fall for it sometimes myself. My expectations, I see somebody and I just want to be able to fix it immediately, or get it done immediately, or close a client now just because I had one conversation. That's the way things really move now. And really, I don't believe that human beings are wired that way. I don't think that we're wired for stuff to just be hitting us and us responding so quickly. 140 characters or less. That's not. If I had to say what is wrong with things today, and we feel things are just off kilter, we can't figure out why, I honestly believe it's because we're moving way too fast. We're moving way too fast. We're doing way too much. I mean, I'm old enough, y'all be 50 in a few months. I'm old enough to remember when, if somebody called me, or if I called home and didn't get my mother, I just didn't get her. And whatever I was talking about, just had to wait till she came home from work, or I came home from school, or whatever the case may be. It wasn't like call and then there's call waiting. So while I'm on this one call, I can hop on this other call. And then while I'm on that call, if I don't answer that, then someone can text me. If they don't text me, they can email me. If they don't email me, they can direct message me. If they don't direct message me, they can FaceTime me. All that stuff, it was just like, hey, call. Yeah. And that's just what it was. And I'm not saying that it has to go back there. I'm not saying I'm anti-technology, but what I am saying is, in terms of word of mouth, there's no better way than someone saying, I had an amazing experience with BYBD, with Kuti, whatever the case may be, with Trish, and think that this would be great for you. And the person who's telling it to the next person, there's already an affinity there. There's already a relationship there. So if they say it, like if I say, blah, blah, blah song is a great song, there are a bunch of people who will go, okay, I'll take your advice, because they trust me. If I just say, I've got great songs, if someone just is out there just banging the drum that I'm great, I'm great, I'm great, it might work if you yell loud enough, but it's not nearly the same kind of recommendation or suggestion when it's coming from somebody. So that's the one thing that, for the longest time, even when I was in the music business, I tried hard to not give out my business card, because when I was young in the music business, what I remembered was I would hand out my business card because I was so proud of the label, that I worked for. And what I saw, because I was really young in the business when I first started, and what I saw with some of the older cats, where there were some guys and ladies who, they were so proud to work for this label. And then one day the label just fires them. Unceremoniously, for no objective reason at all. It's just new boss, new staff, you're out. And that person was now on the outside looking in, and if they couldn't land another gig, they had these cards that they were still trying to get access into the world in with these cards, because they couldn't get the access via just their name alone. And some of them were good people, don't get me wrong, but they spent so much time building equity into a label. And so for me, I got to the point, I was like, I want people to, I remember about a third of the way through my career, I stopped answering the phone with the name of the label. I started answering the phone with my own name. As opposed to going, blah, blah, records, I'd go, this is Kuti. because I wanted whatever equity I was bringing to the game. And yes, the label was giving me some resources, so I would never short them. But what I'm saying is I would want whatever I was delivering to be something where they'd be like, I got that from Kuti. So if Kuti moved to a major label, or was at some teeny little hole in the wall label until he could get his feet back, in the game, as long as they knew they were dealing with me, they knew what they were getting. Yeah. And I carried that with me even into the fitness business, where I was like, you know what, if you can't remember my name, if you can't remember, what I provided for you, then I have not done enough. So if you've got to go back and look at a card to remember who I am, then I have not done enough. So word of mouth is, for me, it put the onus on me to over deliver, so that when I gave you that product, you were like, okay, man, I don't even need a card. I'll just tell you right now, this guy Kuti, boom, boom, like the word of mouth would just spread that way. And that's the way, like I said, I started getting TV interviews and radio interviews, because it was just like, the word was just like, if you need to talk to somebody, you need to talk to this guy, Kuti. And then I'd pop up. And the funny part was, because it was media, right? Some of these realms that I was popping into, they'd be like, wait, the only Kuti I know is the Kuti that was working for the record labels, or was on tour with that artist. That's because I've only seen that name in a few places. And then when I popped up, they're like, wait, it is you. So now I'm popping up on TV, totally rebranded as somebody in fitness, but all my friends were still the same, because behind the scenes, it was all the same players. So then that helped things mushroom as well, because again, the equity that I built as a record label executive now was like, well, if you're doing it, we know how you deliver, we know what you bring to the table, we know how you come across. So by all means, come through, and that all helps. So yes, getting known and being seen is definitely, the onus is on you to provide something that is so superlative that when people ask, who do we need for whatever it is you bring to the table, your name comes up first, second, or third in those conversations. If you can pull that off, you will get known, you will be seen.
That is extremely powerful. And thank you so much, Kuti, for sharing. People, if viewers, if you take nothing away from this interview, the last few minutes that Kuti's been talking to you about word of mouth, that is extremely powerful. So if you just stop right now, rewind, go back, listen to what he said, and take that on board, because it's powerful. And Kuti, you're quite right. People, it's all about, we'll talk about like, knowing, and trusting to connect with our clients, but the like, knowing, and trusting has to come from you. And what you're saying is powerful, in that you are building up that like, knowing, and trusting with the person. People will relate more to people rather than a brand name. I mean, the brand name may work for a while, but it's the person behind that name that they
it'll
want to
work
know
for
about.
a second. Exactly, it'll work for a second, Trish. And like I said, there are times where I get impatient too, and I was like, I know who I am, I know what I can deliver, so let me just get it now, and then we take a shortcut now, and then we just buy or market my way into. And what I've realized is that never sustains. But what does sustain is, like, there have been so many times where business has been slow for me, relatively, and that's all relative depending on where you look. But business has been slow for me, and I'll be like, my goodness, am I gonna make it this month? Am I gonna really make my numbers this month? And then I'll blink, and all of a sudden 9 people just hit me out the blue. And most of the time it's because somebody else just told them. Matter of fact, I have a funny story. I was training this one guy, as a gift for the holidays. He gifted some sessions and consultations to his father, I believe. I forgot. He gifted to his brother. His brother in turn gifted to his father. His father in turn gifted to his brother. So I went from training one guy to training the brother, to training the father, to training the uncle, all in the same family, all over the country, because I train virtually, all over the country. And I was just laughing. I was like, my life will just not be complete without one of these family members in my arsenal of clients. And it was just so funny. It was just one person to the next person, to the next person, to the next. And even when they're like, you know what, I've gotten what I need, I'm done, they didn't leave without first saying, but you should talk to fill in the blank. So that is something and that's always powerful, because when it comes that way, you don't have to do a lot of heavy lifting to convince the person. They already believe it. They already believe in you because of who told them about you. So definitely, organic is definitely the way to go.
Absolutely the best. And I like the fact that we do, look, I absolutely agree with you. This is such a fast world. And if we don't stop and breathe, sometimes we can just find ourselves being flung off that wheel that's going round and round so very fast. And the patience that you have, if you believe in what you've been doing and you've been sharing who you are organically with this word of mouth, then the time that you think is slow is not really, it's just waiting for the seeds you've planted to grow. And I think long-term is a lot better than short-term fast track, which doesn't leave any seeds.
Yeah. And I mean, unfortunately, this past weekend, I lost yet another colleague to the COVID virus, right? And so COVID hasn't been fun. Okay, last year I lost a lot of people, and some people I lost last year, I'll be clear, it had nothing to do with COVID, but we were sitting still so long and we couldn't go anywhere that you couldn't even mourn the way you were accustomed to mourning. You couldn't go to the funerals, you couldn't visit people in the hospitals as they were expiring. And I'm mentioning that just to say that, but it wasn't all bad. You talk about that right time. Oddly enough, just being able to sit still allowed certain things like my 6-week SuperView program to be fully formed, not just an idea that I was tinkering around with and trying to steal time to sort out and execute, but literally I could sit down, methodically, chart it out, beta test it. I had throughout the course of COVID, I was able to chart it out, beta test it, get it right, and then boom, implement it, and have been successfully doing so since then. And so, like you said, if it was about timing, had I not been, just chipping away patiently, and like I said, there were times I got discouraged because things got tight around me, and it was just kind of like, man, I really could use it now, and it just wasn't happening. And then all of a sudden, COVID stopped and happened, and the whole world stopped for a minute. And just in that crease, I was able to figure it out. So if you are authentic and you display that over time, that's another thing that people will latch onto in terms of that see, know, trust factor, because they see you consistently doing something and not just kind of jumping in like brand new. They'll be like, okay, well, this guy's always been this way. And it's amazing to me how many times I've had a client become a part of the 6-week SuperView, and when I talk to them, they'll actually tell me, oh, I've been looking at you for a while.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? I'm thinking I just caught them with the last Instagram post or something. They're like, oh, no. I've been following you for months. But I never saw them on the likes. I never saw them in the comments, but they just popped up like, okay, you know what? I've seen enough. This is the time. And they jump in. And when those people come in, let me tell you, anybody that's out there that's an entrepreneur, when those people come in, you don't have to say a word. They're already sold. They're just like, where do I sign? What do I pay?
And that's the value, and I think the very important issue that you've just brought out there is that people watch, people that you don't even know watch. And I love those words you mentioned about authentic, because it's something that's very close to my own heart. If you are living what you're doing authentically, and so it's like anybody meeting me, it's the same as whether I'm on here as a web TV host, whether I'm speaking, whether I'm doing workshops on video, whatever's in my book, it's me. And Kuti, that's how you come across. Whatever you're doing, it's Kuti. And that's important because people are watching, and people do take a long time to make up their mind. So they're watching what you're doing. You need to be authentic. You need to be walking your talk, because that's what's going to do it. And you just don't know who's out there. And I agree with you. I've had people come up to me and they say, oh, I saw you speak, or I saw you do a workshop a year ago, 2 years ago, and I've just been watching, and now I'm ready. So you have to be there. You have to be genuine. You have to be being who you are. You mentioned your 6-week SuperYou program. Do you want to just give us a little bit more about what is that?
So yeah, so the 6-week SuperYou program, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. It's something I'm very proud of. It synthesizes in a very efficient manner just about every lesson that I've learned up to this point in my fitness journey, and in my assisting people, thousands of people through theirs. Every single client I've ever had, I've always taken notes on, and so that every client is a case study for me. And using the information from that case study, I have what I call my super trio. It's like just 3 pillars that I use for everything. And it's super facts, super foods, and super moves. The super facts are the information. just the things that are scientifically derived and through experience, they play out and have been tried and tested and are true. And these are nuggets of information that just help you get from point A to point Z as efficiently as possible. The superfoods are nutrition. And some people have heard of superfoods in general, but when I talk about superfoods, I'm talking about even within healthy foods, the ones that are healthiest, the ones that get you where you got to go the quickest, the ones that, though they're healthy-ish or healthier, may not necessarily be the ones that will help you have the most success. So a lot of times people have changed the way they're eating, and they're eating foods that they're eating fruits and vegetables, don't realize why they're not still hitting their goals. And it's because there's certain foods that will take you away from your goals, even within the healthy food realm, right? And then last but not least are the super moves. If you're talking about fitness, the super moves will be exercise. If you're talking about life, the moves are just executable steps that will get you to where you are trying to go. And the 6-week Super You helps you with all of that. It helps you just model your lifestyle in a way where you're genuinely from the inside out, your biology, your nutrition, your exercise, your fitness from the in, and then your mindset, your ability to deal with stress. This 6-week Super You is actually a 12-week-long program where I work with you virtually, but also actually. So virtually, we'll deal with each other via the wonder that is technology. But every week there is a live conference call, a live Zoom, where everybody, you and everybody that's participating in your current cohort, will all get together and celebrate your wins. And if there are any things that haven't been fine-tuned during the course of the week in terms of your lessons and your challenges, we'll nail them right then and there before we move into the next week. So literally for the quarter of the year, I'm walking with you hand in hand, helping you get better about detoxing, helping you get better about getting nice, clean energy, building muscle, burning fat, relieving stress, and just balancing not just your body, but your mind. And that's what the 6-week Super You does. I'm super proud of it because it's helped so many people. And every time somebody, even when I see and know what I designed this for, to see it actually happen still hasn't ceased to surprise and bless me and just make me feel so great about the people who successfully come through the program.
That sounds absolutely awesome. I'm going to ask you in a minute where people can contact you, but I like the fact that you still see the wonder and enjoy the change. I think if there comes a time when you don't see that, then maybe it's a time for you to change what you're doing because you've just become complacent and stagnate. So they have always see the joy in your clients is brilliant. Now, does that bring into that super trio? Is that the super trio we're talking about, the 3 pillars?
Yeah, the super trio is the 3 pillars. So super facts, super foods, super moves.
I love
the
that.
information. And so with the 6-week Super You, the beautiful thing about it is I know what busy looks like. I was a record business executive.
Yeah,
I was touring like crazy. I know what busy looks like. The beauty of the 6-week Super You is that you get information every single day for a quarter of a year. And I'd say the shortest lessons are 2 to 3 minutes. The shortest workouts are 3 to 4 minutes. And then the longest time you'll ever have to spend is maybe if you decide to do an entire long version of the workout, it might take you 16 minutes. And yet you will still get your results. You still will feel absolutely fulfilled with what you're doing. I give you the information in bite-sized nuggets. And sometimes it's so, I simplify it so much that sometimes it goes over your head. So we review the information, so we go through the information one week, review it the next week, just to make sure that you got it and you have every opportunity to ask every question you have all the way to the very end. So yeah, so super facts, I really pride myself on those because they, like I said, they're time-honored, scientifically derived nuggets of information that will help you get further. And then of course the super moves, how you can just execute, the steps you can take to just execute towards achieving your goals and your dreams.
I love it. It's such on the surface, it's such a simple 3-step, which has so much depth beneath it to support it. So that's awesome. You know, we could speak for ages. I just love your enthusiasm. I love.
Well, let's do it again.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again. We will. But before we go, can I just ask, I think I'd like to ask you, what's your biggest lesson or insight that you've had so far on your journey?
There've been so many. I feel like I'm still learning as we're speaking, like right now. But I'll say one thing that I remember the most, at least right in this moment. I remember being in the green room, the waiting area for a radio interview, and it was myself and it was this renowned author, and and she was on her second book. When you do this thing for a while, you start to see some of the same people. So I was happy to see her again. We're sitting there, and she knew who I was, and she had been on panels with me before, so she had been started watching me. And she just asked me, like, where's your thing? This is before I had the 6-week Superview. Where's your thing? Where's your book? Like, where's your thing? And I was saying honestly, I said, I don't believe what I'm saying is anything new. I feel like I'm saying, like, to me, the stuff that I'm saying, I didn't invent nutrition. I didn't invent that stuff. I'm just reminding people in my mind, this is what you should do. This is what we should do to be better. She said, yes, but when you say it, Kuti, it sounds completely different than when anybody else says it. And I'd never heard somebody say that before. So she said, I hear what you're saying. She said, I understand what you mean. She said, but when you talk about it, it just sounds different. And when she said that to me and I took it to heart, that's when I realized, like, okay, so something about my voice, something about my presentation, something about my synthesizing of information, like I talked about before, is something akin to like music. These notes don't change. There's only 12 of them. This keyboard is the same keyboard that Stevie Wonder played and that Michael McDonald played, but when Stevie plays it, it sounds a little different, right? When Michael McDonald plays it, it sounds a little different, right? It definitely sounds different when I play it compared to those guys. So my point being, knowing that I had a voice, realizing that I had a voice, owning that I had a voice, and then stepping forward from there was a huge game changer.
Awesome. So I love it. I love it so much. It's funnily enough, that is exactly what I work with my mentors. It's all about, I celebrate uniqueness. Because when I work with a lot of people, business people, they all see that business, or they see their competitors doing all these brilliant things and they say they can't do it, or they say, I want to be just like them, and you can't, but you need to celebrate your voice, your own uniqueness. Everybody is unique. Everybody.
Funny you say that. You mentioned the name of my brand, BYBD. BYBD stands for Be Your Best Daily.
Oh, awesome.
I spent so much time, even when I was at my most fit as a young guy, chasing this guy's abs and that guy's shoulders and this guy's arms. And then one day as an adult, like in my 30s, I remember just working out so hard to try to look like this one person, and it wasn't working. And I mean, I was beating myself to death, legendarily beating myself. Like, people in the gym watching me like, this guy is going after it. But what I found when I looked in the mirror was like, oh, that's what my body looks like in supreme shape. And once I fell in love with that, that was a game changer. And I realized, okay, it's not about being someone else's best. It's about being your best. And the easiest way to be your best daily is to just make incremental improvements on a daily basis. So be your best on a daily basis, because that's all we get. I don't know what's going to happen to me even 2 hours from now, but I know right now, while I'm sitting here on Get Known, Be Seen TV, I know that if I deliver my best, I can look back on that with pride.
Absolutely. And thank you for that, because I was about to ask you that, because it's something I'd forgotten. I wanted to know what those letters meant, and thank you for sharing that. Okay, you have a freebie that viewers here can get in touch. Do you want to just quickly share that with us, please?
Yes, I'm so humbled to be on this show. And so as just a give back, because I indeed 100%, I exist to help. And yes, I do earn a living doing this. I do make money doing this. But because you took the time to watch this show, because you took the time to listen to this conversation with Trish and I, what I'm offering to you is a consultation that I actually charge a couple $100s for, just full disclosure. I will give you a full in-depth consultation where absolutely for free. All you do is mention this show. And what we'll talk about is, we'll just get to the nuts and bolts of whatever it is that your stop is, whatever it is that's just you're struggling with. Most of the people that I have the most success with, I'll just say this now, are the people who are successful at everything. They're successful at every single thing, but they cannot wrap their minds around either getting back to being as sharp as they were before, or getting as sharp as they aspire to be. Like, they get there and it always crashes. So if that's you, I'm saying, even if it's not you, but if that's you, what I'm telling you is, you can hit me up. And what I want you to do is just contact me. Just go to my social media. The easiest way is to go to my social media and just direct message me, whether it's Instagram at KUTImack or Facebook at BYBD Fitness. I do have a website, BYBDfitness.com. And I do have a site specifically for the 6-week SuperView, which is 6weeksuperyou.com. That's the number 6weeksuperyou.com. But again, you can cut through all that middleman stuff and just hit me up directly on social media. Mention that you saw me on this show, and I will give you a free 1-hour consultation where we will get to the bottom of whatever it is that you are struggling with. And I promise you, when that call is over, even if you do not professionally engage with me, I mean this, you will be better for having that call than you were when you got it, when you came into that call.
Awesome. I think that is a very priceless gift that Kuti is giving you, people. And we'll have those links below here as well, so that they'll all be there. So in case you forget, mind you, there is a rewind button. And I think there's a lot of places within this interview that you're going to stop, rewind, because you will want to hear those awesome gems that Kuti has shared with us. Thank you so much, Kuti. As I said, we could speak for ages. I love what you're saying. It resonates so much of my heart, and I'm damn sure it's going to resonate so much with the viewers watching this. Now, week, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, doesn't matter. In the future, someone's going to watch this and pick up those gold nuggets. So I do appreciate your time and in being with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Trish. This was amazing. And like I said, I'd love to come do it again. I mean, there's so many things that we talked about previous to this, to actually engaging on the show that we didn't touch upon. So I'd love to come back and just do that again with you.
Just have a conversation. I love conversations. I just love conversations.
Let's do it. You see, obviously, I like to talk, right?
That's two of us. We're going to be in trouble. And people, you wouldn't realize that I'm an introvert. So
I tell you all the time, I'm the most extroverted introvert you'll ever meet.
Absolutely. I love that. Okay, people, look. You have been watching Get Known, Be Seen Web TV. Me, Trish Springsteen, your host, and our awesome guest, Kuti Mack. Now, as I've said very briefly at the beginning, Get Known, Be Seen Web TV is about giving an opportunity for people. You may have a new book, you may have a new product, you may have a new service, a new business. You just might want to refresh what you're doing, and you'd like to put your hand up and say, hey, I'm here. Absolutely love you to contact me. There's my website up there, there's information below. Absolutely love you. But you may also be an expert, and you might also have a combination. You might deal with social media, you might have an expert, programs that will help people. Again, love to have you. So if you want to, you can comment below here, you can just contact me and we can have a conversation about, hey, being a guest. Now, if you're watching this and you like Kuti, hey, get in touch with Kuti again, because he would love to be on that. But hey, I also like to appear on podcasts and I like to speak. So, hey, you can also contact me about that as well. And I'd love to appear on your show and maybe speak on your event, whether it's online or offline. Now, there is one last thing I want to mention. Below this video, there is a lovely big button that says subscribe. Please subscribe. Subscribe to Get Known, Be Seen Web TV, because the more people that subscribe, the more we can get it out there. And if there's anything you like, if you like this, hey, share it out and let the community know that there was an awesome, awesome interview with Kuti Mack. It's word of mouth. And that's exactly what Kuti's been talking about. Thank you for watching. We'll be back again soon with another episode. Until then, be awesome. Be you. Be unique. Bye.